So with that is, last year we invited the big 3 US airlines on stage to talk about the future of flight shopping. So this year we thought, what a good idea it would be to bring 4 major channels in our industry to the stage. So it's a great honor to welcome Rudy Daniello from Amadeus, Heidi Narayan from Expedia, Piero Sierra from Skyscanner, and Gianni Marostica from Google. And we're going to have an open chat on the future of flight shopping. Welcome, and thank you. So first, I want to ask, we have some prepared questions, but I would really prefer to ask your questions. So if you want to go into the app and look for the session, there's a link that says submit your question now. I've got this iPad, and to the extent you give questions, I'm going to prefer your questions over mine. So welcome, thank you for joining. So I want to first just ask for some quick introductions, what you do, and let's just talk about one specific thing that you love when you fly.
Start with me?
Yeah.
So hello everyone. So I'm Rudy Daniello. I'm leading the travel channels customer operations within Amadeus. That means basically solution and product management, delivery services, and customer services for the indirect channels. And what I love when I fly, being a frequent business traveler, is that kind of privileged bubble of peace and quiet, where I can really rest a little bit, relax, and work to prepare my business trip and my arrival. And with that, I'm looking forward to everything we're doing for the sense of predictability of what I will be getting in my bubble when it comes to seat, when it comes to Wi-Fi, when it comes to entertainment. So it's really the predictability of more structured content.
So just don't travel with Jonathan Savage. That's the only advice I have. Thank you. Heidi?
Hello, I'm Heidi Narayan with Expedia Group. I have the connectivity team, which sits in the commercial strategy and services organization. And so my team manages commercial relationships with connectivity partners, the biggest of which are the GDSs. And this is across all of the Expedia brands in different lines of business. And what I love about travel, I bring it back to retailing, but I kind of feel like a kid every time I get on the plane. I can't wait to sit by the window and look at the view, and I probably have thousands of pictures out a plane window of all different aspects, from coming into cities or by a beach, clouds. So
nice.
That's it.
Thank you. I'm Piero Sierra. I'm the head of product at Skyscanner, which was recently acquired 2 years ago, was acquired by Ctrip, so we're technically part of the Ctrip group. The thing that I love about travel is actually similar to Rudy's, tuning out and actually having a little bit of me time, no family, no work. I can work if I want to, I can watch a movie. So I'm actually looking forward to not solving the Wi-Fi problem, because that will make me feel really guilty, and then I'll have to work. So obscurity there would be helpful to me, at least.
It may be too late, Pierre.
I know.
Gianni.
I'm Gianni Marostica. I lead the commercial team for all our Google Travel, essentially our travel-related products, so flight search, hotel search. I'm sure you're all users of Trips app. I'll tell you what I love to do when I travel if you promise not to laugh. And that is, and I know it sounds real geeky, but before I get on an airplane, I always look at the tail number. And then I have this spreadsheet I've had for many, many, many years. And I look to see if I've flown on that aircraft before. So.
And has it happened?
All too often, unfortunately.
Okay, nice. Okay, we're just going to warm up a little bit, and again, I encourage you to submit questions. What is the most exciting development, in your view, happening to the evolution of flight shopping? We've got 4 of the largest channels here. Not typical for ATPCO to have distribution on the stage, but it's a new era. So really curious. Why don't we start with you, Gianni?
Sure. So a couple of things. One, I'm really excited about the next generation of travelers. It's really quite fascinating to me. Their view and perspective on shopping is very, very different. They have no intention of putting up with all the legacy activity that we've all contributed to, starting with myself. So that's really good. They're amazing at challenging us to come up with new ideas and better products. And along with that, what is really interesting to me is that we're finally recognizing that we should be selling airfare with something more than just the price, because it really is more than just about the price. And so that's really exciting to me that we're finally starting to gather all this data, and it's going to be a challenge to present it in a way that makes sense for everybody, but I'm glad, and it's going to be a long haul, but I'm glad we're going down that path.
Let's go in reverse order.
I'll build on that. I think that's an excellent answer. The next generation of travelers is as interesting to think about as the merchandising opportunities that we have. One thing that goes along hand in hand with that is the predominance of mobile now in the shopping experience, at least at Skyscanner. I assume that's true for all the channels represented here. Skyscanner does something like 100 million travelers come to us every month, of which 66 million are on a small screen. And I can't help but, so it's exciting, it's an opportunity. The downside to it is every screen that we showed and every screenshot so far in the day has been of a desktop, big screen with lots of room to play with. And I think when you think about the traditional experience of buying a flight on a desktop, and you contrast that to shopping for clothes on Instagram, which is how a lot of people actually shop for clothes today, it's night and day. And so we have a collective challenge there where the data that we're getting on the merchandising side should allow us to create new channels and new ways of distributing content to new audiences. But that transformation is very exciting.
Heidi?
I think the innovation, the potential for innovation with everybody being on social media to some aspect, to take that and tie things back and try to give people more of what they want, what they're looking for based on what they've done in the past, what they've posted, where they've been, which seat they chose previously. So I think there's a lot of potential.
Okay, Rudy?
It's always easy to get the last, the last answer after my three colleagues. But I'll take a different angle. I mean, what is really exciting me at the moment is that I believe that thanks to the industry awareness and the technology readiness, we are really in reach of squaring the retailing circle and making sure that we have three dimensions converging, which in the past looked a little bit antagonistic. The need of relevance, personalization, and transparency for the travelers. The very legitimate need of the airlines to retail, merchandise, and go for upsell. And not forgetting the no less legitimate need of the travel agencies to differentiate and increase their bottom line. And we are really at that pivotal time where, through collaboration, I believe we stand a good chance
So
of
let's
the three dimensions.
Let's get to the heart of, thank you. Let's get to the heart of what we've been talking about this morning, Next Generation Storefront. And I think hopefully you saw the presentation last year from the US Big Three, unveiling their vision for a new way to display flights, a lot more options up front that the consumer can compare. There's more activity than we expected that has happened so far. We saw trip actions and upside. Where do you guys stand? We haven't heard as much from you on Next Gen Storefront yet. Whoever wants to take that.
I can go.
Yeah. I'm
Please.
happy to start. I think that we think that standards are good for the industry, but I think that it's still the non-direct channel. We need to be able to decide what's best for our customers. We have all that information and how we display it. So I think it's moving in the right direction. I think it'll take some time, as always, to get there and to get everybody aligned on what those standards are, and then really figuring out how you can display that is not too confusing for our customers, where we are selling, in an omni-channel environment, and it's a little bit different, and it's different in the mobile space, as you just said as well.
To build on that, firstly, I would say it was incredibly exciting to see that keynote last year. I know everybody at Skyscanner watched that multiple times, and just to see the three major US carriers come together and to say, actually, you are allowed to compare this to that, and that these are fairly similar from a customer's perspective, is transformative, actually, because we actually usually thought that opacity of the packaging was actually part of the point, and it was really great to see the airline say, actually, we want people to be able to compare these things like for like, to be able to see what's in them. And it builds very well on the UTA, UPA, and Route Happy work that, so we're very excited to use all those building blocks. To build on the point of the channels themselves, I think it's important to remember that every channel is going to be extremely different, whether you're on a desktop screen or a small screen, whether you're a TMC, an OTA, or a meta search engine. And even within that, 2 TMCs and 2 OTAs and 2 metas might approach things differently. Whether the traveler is signed in or not, whether the traveler is traveling for business or not, it can get quite complicated. And that's okay. That's our job to figure that out. But it's also not a steady thing. We're not going to, I think there's a perception perhaps in this room, at least I was feeling from the slides, that we're going to just figure out what the right path is, and then everybody's going to go build that, and that would be how we do it. As opposed to saying, no, we're going to have all this data available to us, which we can then continually experiment with on different channels in different ways and how to surface things. And just one anecdote, I'm sorry to consume so much time, but when we talked to Route Happy back in the day about using Wi-Fi data and exposing that to Skyscanner travelers, the first thing we did was we showed it on the day view of the search results page of like, here's all the flights and which ones have Wi-Fi and not good Wi-Fi. And conversion immediately tanked. And the reason it tanked was not because people don't care about Wi-Fi or need to know about Wi-Fi, but it all depends at what point exactly in the decision-making process. So that's a place where people have all these variables in their head. You add one more variable, and it breaks people. Whereas if you show that same information one step deeper into the funnel, it actually helped us with conversion. And so I think it's very important that we're going to have to fine-tune all this as we figure things out.
Full disclosure on that, testing yields very variable results. So we've had similar results on the first screen that did very good things for conversion. So it is interesting, all of the flexibility that you're saying you need and want. Did you have something, Rudy?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, I'm fully aligned with Piero, and not because we're sharing Italian roots. But the thing that I believe, first of all, the concept of NGS in Amadeus, we're fully behind. I mean, bringing more transparency for the search and compare, but at the same time, the buying of the airlines, because they recognize themselves and they're retailing in what we are manipulating. But our approach to NGS is more to think of having a delivery of standardization bricks that will be recognized as valid and legitimate by the airlines, that each channel will be able to use to build their retailing wall on which they'll be able to approach the travelers. And that's really aligned with what Piero was saying. I mean, depending you're an offline selling interface or you're an online selling interface, a mobile, corporate, not corporate, it's totally different. We're seeing huge impacts on the conversion funnel, even for offline. And so we need to make sure that we do not conceive NGS as a kind of compulsory certifying display mechanism, but more as the framework, the platform to enable the different displays.
Standards.
Yep.
Standards, right?
Standards, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So very similar to what my colleagues have said, it was a huge breath of fresh air to see these large and very important carriers essentially think alike in a sense of being able to provide more content and more data to be able to compare products, not just on price, but on other attributes. One thing we see from our users, have seen in the past and continue to see, is the more data we show them, the more they have a tendency to buy up. So they understand value for money, and they're not afraid to spend money, but they want to make sure they get the value. So that's a great opportunity to allow them to buy the products they're actually asking for and not to only differentiate on price. And I think that's perfectly in line with all the airlines, because last I looked, the load, and I see it every day, even this morning flying in, the load factors are so high. So one of the best ways for all of you to essentially raise your revenue is through yield. I know you know this much better than I do. And what better way to get a passenger in a seat that's willing to pay more for the product as opposed to just the basic minimum. So I think it's one of those areas where we can all work together, and it's in all of our interests. We're going to give our users what they're looking for, as we've seen, and also the ability for you to raise your yield, which is normally very good because it drops straight to the bottom line. So I think it's a win-win scenario. And there hasn't been many of those with respect to suppliers and intermediates in the past. So I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, so related to that then, what does it take to get next-gen storefront and this kind of display innovation on your own roadmaps? Like, where is it on your roadmap? When do you think we're going to see a different Google Flights interface and Cell Connect, et cetera, in Expedia? Because I think they're fair, you're experimenting, but they're fairly similar, and we heard from Trip Actions and Upside, they've just sort of gone right into it.
I can start. We have 5 partners that we expect to have live by December. So,
Partners?
We have 5 partners that we expect to have live by December, with some combination of fair families and fair attributes and what you would call NGS display, although it's not the API standard, it's more like using UPAs and UTAs all across the funnel. We're very excited about it. I think we have to learn what it does, how it works. So live with experiments is the goal by the end of the year, but yes.
Others?
I can carry on.
Yeah.
So in Amadeus, we've always embraced the different products of ATPCO for many, many years. And we are clearly using ancillary services, branded fares, UPAs. We're going to go high on amenities, and you know that very well. Now, when it comes to, and as I was mentioning as well, branded fares, which is already a way of comparing and pushing the airline retailing. Now, when it comes to Next.js NGS, the point is that we had a similar approach that we used to call travel agency bundles. And that was about enabling the subscribers, the travel agents, to personalize the families to compare. So now what we need to do is see a convergent path with NGS. So we clearly intending to pursue the NGS path with you. We shall see some announcement before the end of the year, and 2021 will be the years, but for us, we need to make sure that we can get that convergence between the personalization capability for the travel agents and the wish to have fair comparison of the airlines.
So we have 3 partners we're live with today, mostly on fair families, all 3 US-based. And similar to the presentation we saw earlier, the results have all been very, very positive. We're learning a lot. We've made a few mistakes along the way. We're just recognizing it's so difficult to standardize the output so that it's consumable and understandable by users, and also that provides our partners, the airlines, with the ability to really differentiate their products. So I think this is where all of you, ATPCO, can really, really help in terms of bringing to the table both what the airlines are looking for and what we, I guess, around on the stage here as intermediaries are looking for our users. And that's not going to be easy, but I think the results are, as they say, the pearl is worth the dive, so it's definitely worth doing it, despite it's going to take some time, and we'll make a lot of mistakes along the way, a little bit of trial and error, but really looking forward to that happening.
So it sounds like you're pointed in the direction of Next.js Storefront. You're taking initial steps. You're not quite there. We're getting actually a lot of questions from airlines about what do you want to tell airlines that you think they need to do to get you more to the table in innovating the displays? There's about 5 or 6 questions like that. Anyone want to take that?
Sure. Well, go on.
Please, Dan.
Again, it would be great to figure out some form of a standard. One thing we've noticed also, and I'm sure everybody sees this, pictures convert significantly better than words. So anything we can do to also, whether it's on a hover basis, I know it's difficult to add all the possible rich content. I mean, it gets huge very quickly. But as much as it can be pictorial versus words, that seems to impact users on a more positive way, at least from what we've seen so far. Early days, but so to me, that would be one key thing.
For me, it's all about content coverage, really, and getting to. So we had a conversation yesterday about amenities being at 95%, and the question is, how do we get to 100? Because that's a 5% hole in our story when we talk to travelers.
You feel like 100% is needed to get started?
Not necessarily. It depends on what the partners are. In the case of NGS as a whole, we want to get as much content as we can so that we can have real apples to apples, likes to likes across the various portions of our funnel. We need to get the low-cost carriers in there. We need to get the low-cost carriers that are not currently publishing with ATPCO, but that represent a big percentage of our customers' searches and exits. And so really getting that comprehensiveness of the data, heavily on photos, heavily on the UPAs would be fantastic.
Yeah, I would just add that have compelling offers as well, so that there is a value for users to upgrade or make that differentiation between the different products.
Are you? Yeah, go ahead, Rudy.
Yeah, I mean, being Amadeus, I mean, there would be a call for a little bit more collaboration and cooperation and a little bit less confrontation. And embracing the diversity of the travel channels and making sure that we jointly design the standards, that we enable that diversity and not trying to force down the channels a one-size-fits-all solution, which may seem ideal from an airline's direct channel point of view, but which would be defeating the purpose of increasing the revenues and the upsell of the airlines and as well the bottom line of the subscribers.
How are we doing in that collaboration versus confrontation? So where are we now between channels and airlines? Are we getting closer? Are we getting more aligned? Do you have enough? Are there enough forums
yes.
to discuss these things? I mean, NGS working groups is one example.
Exactly. And yeah, so ATPCO has been really great in creating those channels and opening up the conversation. So please continue that, and we will participate in all of those forums. I think our conversations with airlines have been really quite great, actually, in terms of aligning on a number of things, aligning on on giving us the content, aligning on the experimentation approach, also aligning on economics. I think there's quite a reasonable story to be told, at least from the meta perspective, of ensuring that we make money when our partners make money in the commensurate amounts. And so looking at our contracts and figuring out, like, hey, if we can upsell a customer, what does that mean for us? What does it mean for you? Aligning that makes it easier for us to just go all in and embrace.
I mean, our conversations with partners have just gotten better and better, and it's really exciting to see that there is this level of excitement to be able to provide more content. A few other things we've also found interesting is it's very difficult to predict what's going to work. It's very, very difficult. At least we find it difficult. And so a lot of trial and error really, really helps. And so I've also been very excited to see many of our partners being open to try new things. You know, let's try it this way, let's present it this way, let's show it in a different way. So that openness to be willing to sort of launch and iterate and experiment. We can all sit here and pretend that we know exactly what works best, but in the end, especially with the mix of travelers that exist today, I find trial and error is huge. And so having the patience, which has been great, to be willing to try different things and present them in a different way has really been, in my view, phenomenal.
Do you think if you're here next year, what will you be saying about what you did in terms of display innovation and how much closer you are to airlines in a year? Anyone want to take that?
I think we'll see some working solutions. We will have found this time next year positive that all of the channels represented here and then some that are not represented here will have found working solutions that are yielding results. And then we'll start learning from each other and trying to adapt. It will be kind of the 1.0 version of this, where the data is live, it's available, you can do some comparisons. It's obviously within airline control, but it's probably not the 2.0 and the refinements and the truly understanding what matters to people. I think we probably won't be there, but we will be live.
Will you be sharing your conversion and upsell metrics like Trip Actions and Upside did today?
With our partners in private.
I mean, for sure. I mean, when we look at the pace of deliveries, when it comes to NDC recently, when it comes to branded fares and ancillary services, I am sure that next year, same date, we'll be able to measure the progress for NGS.
Nice.
I was just going to add that I did the same thing. I think we'll continue to iterate and try different experiments. I think that we'll be able to grow the pie together with our partners and both find value.
As you know, we at ATPCO want to really help facilitate this and bring airlines and channels together to solve these problems, really figure out the standards that unlock this in your channels. Here's an interesting question. Historically, the airline industry has been slow to adopt change, with younger generations having more buying power and being used to instant gratification. Do you believe you're moving fast enough in adoption to gain and retain them as customers?
I don't feel we're moving fast enough. And there is, you see it across the entire industry. There are still a lot of legacy systems in place, and I think because of the fact that for the longest time, I've worked for 3 airlines in 3 different countries, and it was always upsetting to me that everybody in the ecosystem would make money, except me. So it's great to see that that's changed.
And I work at Google.
It's great to see that that's changed, and so I think it's wonderful that now we're in a position where the entire ecosystem is healthy, especially the main provider of a service. So that's really great to see, and so that spurs to me an opportunity to invest more in technology. I think with the price of computing power continues to shoot down, and to become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So there's no reason why any entity that has some legacy technology wants to upgrade it or wants to improve on it, now is a great time to do it. Obviously, it could be disruptive. It's not an easy thing to do, but I find given the price point of computing and all the options that exist out there, it's a great moment to start doing that, and hopefully that allows us to accelerate our speed in launching new things for our users.
I think there's room for improvement for sure, and I think that as Johnny said, I think we all have to work together because the systems and processes have to change as well to accommodate that innovation that younger generations are looking for.
And it ties back to standardization. I mean, the thing that we want to remove as much as possible, the hurdles between, the airline offering and what we can innovate and what we can deliver to the travelers. Standardization is one means of removing the hurdle. In Amadeus, we're trying, because we're not a B2C company, right? So we're trying to provide a travel platform which is enabling all the subscribers' ecosystem to build upon and to innovate and differentiate. So
let's
that's
get to
what
work
we're
on this.
delivering.
Let's
Exactly.
get to work on standards. Okay, NDC.
Bob, sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Pierre.
Here's how far off we are from the target. I just would challenge everybody in the room to pull out their phones, look at all the flights available from Washington to London, compare all the inventory and everything that's available in terms of the actual planes, the flights, the time schedules, and the extras and packages that are available, and purchase it with their face. And it would be a 0% success rate, I would suspect, in this room. But if I asked you to do that for a TV, you'd probably be able to get a TV showing up to your house, and you'd be able to compare the models and understand what's available and have it show up at your doorstep before this meeting is over, basically. And so we have a huge gap here. And it's all on us. It's on all of us as an industry and ultimately as the channels who connect to the customers to make that possible.
Yeah, so I'm curious, are we as an industry and our airlines sort of throwing too much at you right now? You've got to handle NDC, you've got to handle NGS, you've got new platforms, new delivery mechanisms. Is it too much, or can you handle all this? And how do you decide what's important and what you should focus on?
It's not enough.
Yeah, not enough.
Keep it coming.
Exactly.
The quicker, the better. Again, as I said, as long as there's that, which there is, at least from our experience, as long as there's that openness, to try and iterate. Again, there's nothing better than trial and error, I find, in today's environment. And so as long as there's that openness, just throw everything you can, and hopefully we can work together to figure out what really works, both for you and for our users. And so to me, the more the merrier.
You want more from airlines.
Yeah, oh yeah.
More content, more NDC, APIs.
Their ideas, their thoughts, everything, absolutely.
I would like airlines also to truly embrace the indirect channels. We've seen a groundswell shift over the past 2 years on this. 2.5 years ago, we would talk about NDC, or we talk about selling directly on the indirect channels via facilitated conversation. And it was basically our strategy is everybody's going to come to our website on a desktop computer. And that has shifted, but it could not shift fast enough. And it's taken us 2 years. Please continue in that direction.
So here maybe I'll be slightly playing maybe the party pooper. So throw everything you can, for sure. But the point is that one should not nonetheless disregard the complexity. We are quite rightfully so trying to disrupt a model which has been, and with the help of ATPCO and with all the actors, improved and fine-tuned over the past 30 years in a fairly incremental fashion. But still, when you look at, for example, NDC, the current state, although we're fully embracing NDC and trying to project it, we know that we have some scalability issue. We know that we have some servicing maturity issue that we need to solve. So my plea is for sure, throw everything you have so that we can better project your offering, but making it in such a way that we still manage to have end-to-end servicing, scalability, and interoperability. So otherwise, you face the problem of letting some of your customers down at the time of servicing, reissuing, and so on.
I'm hearing more content, more APIs, more dialogue, maybe more love to a certain extent, but also understanding on the complexity side, engaged together. I take it as a very good sign that the four of you are here at the ATP Go conference to have this kind of dialogue. We're actually at time, so let's close with one sentence, just how you see it today. What is your one sentence on the future of flight shopping? Start with Rudy. We'll go down.
All right. I look at it as a fantastic opportunity for really a multi-billion solution, which will require a significant number of millions of dollars to invest, and it will take a lot of clever people and collaboration to make it at an acceptable pace and cost.
That's why you're here.
Indeed.
I think we should all just have our own little bubble that takes us everywhere, and we don't have to worry about shopping for it. No, but in reality, I think that there's a huge potential, and again, the pie is big enough for everybody. I think there's exciting changes that are coming for all of us, and the face recognition. I think it would be great if it knows exactly what I want, and I just like turning on my phone, and I can get what I want. That would be great.
Piera.
Face recognizing space bubbles sound good.
Yeah.
I think actually, maybe more modestly, but also in a more grounded way, I think in the next 5 years, it is all going to happen. And for me, I know we will have arrived when you can open up your phone, shop for anything as easily as you can at TV on Amazon, or if you're in China with Tmall, see all the product that is available and just purchase it right there on the spot. And that's going to happen very, very quickly, actually, because it's one of those things where it's very slow until it's really fast. And I feel like we're on that very fast curve now.
Good, you heard it here first. Gianni.
Just 2 words, encouraging and exciting.
Nice.
And if I can sneak in, it's about time.
It's about time, exactly. We are getting closer. Thank you very much to the panelists, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.